Power of Four. Shift your perspective to change your life. Welcome to the Power of Four. The Power of Four is where we shift our perspective from what we're against to what we're for. I'm Jenny Capella, and today I'm really pleased to have a guest with me. Her name is Chrissy Piccolo. Chrissy has an amazing background, including having been a criminal investigator for Seattle, Washington, and she's going to tell us a lot more about that. And her story is such a match for the theme of this show, because in this show, we move from our perspective of what we're against to what we're for, and her against would have been coming across some incredible challenges in her career, and she could have stayed stuck in the against position, but instead, what she learned to do is take the core and the essence of her passion for her work and transmute it and channel it into a whole new career of being an author. Now, I've read her first book. She's got a trilogy that she's working on, and the first one's done. The second one's coming out sometime next year. And I can tell you right now, it's an incredible page turner. The only thing that made me stop reading it was I had to go to sleep. I was drooping. Otherwise, I would have read it straight through. So anyway, with that, I will say welcome, Chrissy, and thank you for being here.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on the show. I'm excited.
You're welcome. So I'd like you to start off telling us some background about yourself in your career in particular, and whatever else you want to add. But, you know, people will be very, very interested in the criminal investigation piece. And so tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, God, okay, if we go back, way back, growing up, I was always, loved Nancy Drew. I was a Nancy Drew fan, loved it, loved all the TV, like in the late 70s, early, into the 80s. I like, Charlie's Angels. I wanted to be a Charlie's Angel and literally go undercover and stuff. That never happened, but I always wanted to be an investigator for many, many years. And I always loved, all of the procedurals out there. I mean, the X-Files, I'm a huge fan of the X-Files. I mean, huge. That was another one. And, of course, Star Wars. I'm a Star Wars fan. Love that trilogy. So then I decided basically I liked the legal field. This is the thing. I liked the legal field. And I went and I got my paralegal, but I didn't like sitting at a desk. It was just paperwork, it wasn't like going out interviewing people, or it wasn't investigating anything. And so what happened was basically I just found it was an ad, believe it or not. I don't know if do you remember Discover You?
I do.
You know what that Yeah, well, in the back of that page of one, there was a how to be a private investigator class. And I took it, and then they gave us material, and on the back of that, in the back of the book that they gave us, was a form to fill out if you wanted to do an internship at the public defender's office to be an investigator.
Wow.
And that's sort of how my journey started, was that. I did that. I absolutely loved it. And I spoke to other people who were already working as investigators, and it just sounded so exciting because I love the litigation process. I love, anything that has to do with trial and obviously criminal is more exciting than civil most of the time, unless you're doing, I don't know. I just find civil not fun. Anyway, so then, and I ended up did that internship for almost a year. And then I was a private investigator for a little bit. I worked for a messenger service in Seattle. I was in the investigation unit. And I learned how to skip trace, locate people. They call it skip trace, locate people, background searches, asset searches. But it was all online because the internet was just new coming on, right? So everybody was going online, and it was so exciting. And then I ended up working for 3 or 4, I think it was 1, 2, 3 or 4 different public defender agencies. I also worked for the city prosecutor's office in their criminal division, doing the pre-filing investigations, which was interesting. So if somebody was arrested, I would have to go and talk to the victim and say, do you still want to, proceed with this? And then of course you're always working with law enforcement and other agencies. And I just really absolutely loved it. And then I had so many, it's a long story, but I had a lot of medical issues come up. And I couldn't do it anymore because you have to be 100%. I mean, you have to be 200% on the ball. I mean, you cannot have, like, I had some physical issues and I had some issues with my stomach, and anyway, it ended up I just couldn't do it anymore, which was devastating because I absolutely loved my job. I loved it and I did it for about 14 years. And then I was lost. I mean, when you can't do what I felt I was born to do, and what do you do? And I was lost for many years. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know, like, and then the funny thing about being an author, I always, it's so funny. I actually ran this is a funny story. I actually was looking at some was emptying out a box of stuff. And I was looking through it, and there was a card or something that I had said that I had made in like the 3rd or 4th grade. And it said, I want to be an author. And I'm like, I don't even remember writing that. I know, isn't that interesting? And so then I think what happened was with the whole series, I'll tell you how that all came about. So I was just in the den room. And the problem is that in this society, everybody looks at themselves like a victim. I'm a victim. My body can't do what I want it to do. And I can't do what I want it, what I thought I was born to do. I'm not the same, I'm not, who am I? Who am I? If I can't be an investigator, who am I? I'm a nobody is what I thought. I'm like, I can't do this, I can't do that. I was so frustrated. And then I remembered there was a story that I had created. It's so funny, called The Mystery of the Gold Coin. And it was a Kirsten Kelly story. And Kirsten Kelly is sort of my alter ego. There's a lot of people have said that know me have said it's like about 80% me and 20% what I wish I had. And I don't have a hot boyfriend like she does. But anyway. And so then I picked it up. I had already written the whole story. Okay, but I didn't like it. I didn't like the ending. And then in 2022, I don't know, something inside me was just like, I think I got it. I got the whole thing, like how it should end. I got the whole, like it was like a download. It just came to me. And I decided in 2022 to pick it back up again. And it took me probably 6 or 7 months to finish, like really, because I revamped a lot of it. I mean, a lot of it was revamped. And then but it was so wonderful being able to write it and utilize my knowledge. And I didn't realize how much knowledge that I actually had in me, and the ability to explain it in a way that people would understand when they're reading it. It's because I'm very much a step-by-step person anyway. When I tackle anything, it's like, okay, what's first, second, third? And it was so much fun writing. I especially loved, there's interrogations in there and stuff. That was fun because that's how I used to interview people. So I got to actually just transmute all that energy that I had and love of investigation into that. And it was amazing. It was amazing. And so, yeah, and I've just kind of been on that road since, and it's been quite the adventure. That's for sure.
I love your story, and I love so much how, you, as many people, when they go through a career change, and I work with lots of people who've been laid off and it's sudden and they panic and, they're left not knowing what to do. And obviously you weren't laid off. It's a different story, but still that sense of kind of the walking through the desert, that transition between what was to what is going to be, and then what becomes the reality. And it can be extremely painful, extremely disorienting. And yet there was something in you, this kernel in you that said as a child, I want to be an author. And then you have this passion for doing the investigation work, which is just such a good example of being able to move into the for position, being for your passion. That's really what this is about. You're for your passion, and it just has a different outlook, a different way of expressing. And now, you've got this exciting series coming up. And actually tell us now a little bit more about the book. So the Mystery of the Gold Coin, tell us about the plot and all the different elements to it, and then talk about what's coming up in the next book. So I can't wait. I mean, you better finish that second book because I'm dying over here.
was funny when you said you couldn't put it down because I
Yeah.
have another friend of mine who was reading it, and her husband, it's like 3 in the morning, and her husband is, "Are you coming to bed?" I gotta finish reading this. And
Right.
she read the whole thing like in a night. She couldn't stop, but which is amazing. And I'm so grateful that people, they seem to like want to get involved in it. But basically, Kirsten Kelly Chronicles book series, it's a book series. And it's sort of like a Nancy Drew. She's older. She's 30. Okay. So that was sort of my golden year was the 30s. I don't know what happened. But anyway, my golden year was the 30s. But anyway, but yeah, so she's older than Nancy Drew, but she has the same wholesome moral values, I guess is what I will say. It's very much steeped in spirituality. There's a lot of, I would say, people call it fringe. I don't call it fringe because there's a lot, energy is real. We are energy, and she is a Royal Starseed and she doesn't know it yet. I'll just tell you that, because you got to give them something. And she comes upon the mystery of the gold coin. I'll just show you right there. I know you're going to do graphics, but anyway, yeah, so the mystery of the gold coin, this gold coin kind of just falls into her lap and the adventure ensues, and she gets involved with this archaeologist she finds to find out if this is a real coin, what's the deal with it. And she ends up from Seattle all the way to Cairo, Egypt, looking for a portal within the Great Pyramid, which that was so much. I'm dying to go there, but anyway, and it's just a fun adventure story. If you like, so her boyfriend Nate Sinclair is with Space Force, and so there's so many. I don't even know how to explain it because there's so many. But the way I've been explaining it to people is that it's sort of like Star Wars meets the X-Files. Is the best way that I can describe it. Because there's aspects of space, because he's with Space Force, and then there's going to be a whole lot of like turncoats. There's what is it? How did I say it? A dark cult that's involved. Okay, and there is facts fused with fiction, is what I say, because there is a lot of. I did research. Actually, yeah, I did research on Egypt, and so some of the stuff in here is actual historical and some facts of things that are going on in the world now. You can even like look at the parallel. But I think mostly it's just a fun adventure. And I just think in my eyes, I feel like I want people to sort of look up to her because she doesn't know anything. Like she doesn't have her memory. She suddenly shows up on the Washington coast at the age of 9 years old, I think it was. And she doesn't have any memory of where she's from or anything. And then this couple takes her in, the Kellys, and that's all she knows. And she doesn't even know who she is. So it's wonderful because it's sort of like self-discovery, right? And she learns who she is. And then this amazing fun adventure. And there is twists and turns. There's a lot of like, if you like criminal books or books on crime, this is got that. It's got historical. It's got a lot of things in it, but it's just a fun adventure story, I would say. I akin it to a little bit, like I said, there's a little aspects of like Indiana Jonesy feel to it, I think. I mean, that's kind of the best way that I could describe it. And then book 2 is going to come out early 2025. It's called Nowhere to Hide. It's a continuation. And then the third book will come out probably this next year as well to finish the full trilogy. And that one's called Twist of Fate. And there's going to be a little bit of a romance kind of thing. There's going to be a lot of like interweaving storylines, and it's all, and not only that, the conclusion of this trilogy, there'll still be like some hanging things, so as the series goes along, there'll be other things that might come up that will harken back to these books. You know what I mean? I also have in the works the prequel to this, which the reason that I'm writing that it's going to be called Whispers at Sun Mountain Lodge, I believe, what I'm going to call it. And it's just simply a mystery romance, and it's based on one of the cases that I worked, aspects of it. And because people were telling me they're upset, because in the book, Kirsten and Nate, they're already together. So my niece in particular was like, I want to know how they fell in love and blah, blah, blah. It's going to be a fun story. I've already got that outlined. So potentially I'm going to try and have that one out as well next year. So it's going to be a big year next year. I'm
It is
excited.
going to be a big year. You know,
Yeah.
one of the things I'd love you to do is to tell us about your writing process, because moving from the career you were in and then going through those incredibly challenging, painful experiences and coming onto the other side, do you have a way that you know, to maybe inspire other people out there that are looking at writing a book? What was your process?
My process was I had this, it's so weird. So I do like an outline of, okay, I kind of did a brief outline. It wasn't even really extensive or anything. And I knew what I wanted to say. And for me, I don't know why it's so easy for me, but it's not easy. But what I'm saying is that it comes easy when I just sit down. I can just write. Like I do have for the first book. That's how it was. It was just simply I was getting pictures in my head like a movie. It reads like a movie to me.
Mhm.
And I write consecutively. And so that's just the way the first book happened. I don't know. It was interesting. But the second and third book is mapped out more because there's new characters coming in, especially the second book. There's going to be several new characters. Some of them they've been mentioned in the first book, and some of them not. You're going to learn more about her background and everything. But anyway, so what I did is I kind of outlined. I have all of it. The rest of the book just outlined what I want and the bullet points that I want to hit, and that's how I do it. And then I'm like, oh yeah, okay. And I already have in my head what I want. It's just me sitting down and getting it out of my head. And that's been the hardest part. Some people, especially my mother was talking about, you should just get like a recorder and record yourself. But that's not how some people can do that. I can't do that because it comes like I said in the movie, and then I just write. So for this time, for the next two books, yes, I did a outline. I do know, and I also the other thing that I did, I outlined each character of the book, and this goes for the whole series. I outlined each character, their background, what their secret or motivation is, how each, like the bad guys, of course, and so that's what I did for the first book. I made sure that I had each character and their background, in stone. That part I did write, out on a piece of paper. But other than that, it just, the first one I just came. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, it did. Absolutely. And then what made you think about, bringing in Space Force and the current elements of what's happening now, and just how did all that come together?
Well, I think there's this underlying evil in the world, and I'm trying to teach people to look beneath the facade almost of what we see. And I think that the best way for me to do that is to kind of do it in a fictional way, but not, because there's you've read it. A lot of it is things that are happening in the world today. And I think it's important because it kind of anchors the series in reality, even though it is a fiction and it is a little bit sci-fi fantasy-ish, and there's all aspects, pretty much any genre that you would like is in it. I just did an amalgam because that's just how all these things that I love. But I think that it was important for me to put it in there so that people, when they're reading it, maybe it'll, oh, wait a minute, I thought I heard that before, when they hear it in reality. You know what I'm saying? So I thought it would be important, and everybody has different perspectives. Um, and I think it's important. I think there's some seeds that are planted, and I think it's important
Right.
moving forward.
So when you moved through this process of going through all these challenges and how incredibly difficult that was, what is it that got you through those times? For people out there right now because there's a lot of people that are questioning things, whether, they've been laid off, as I mentioned earlier, or just simply looking at things and trying to make sense of things and going through a lot of pain and a lot of confusion. What was it for you, do you think, in that desert time, that eventually that helped you, and then how did you kind of come to the other side of it? Do you have a sense of that at all, or?
I don't really. I think, it's so funny because my niece I was talking to her last night, and she says to me, which I guess is true, but I never thought of it before. I was like, I just have this inner strength that I didn't know I had to keep going. I know it's very easy to just, I'm done. I mean, I was in a bad state. I was very depressed. It was hard. It was very hard because when you define yourself with what you do, which is what I did, I defined my entire existence. My whole life was that, plus my friends, everybody I worked with, and I think that that's what it was. I just think that at some point, I don't know if it was God, somehow I there was a mind shift. I want to say, sort of a mind shift in my way of thinking, almost. And so you get out of the victim mode, or like, why did this happen to me? Why do I have to go through this BS? I was very upset, and I had then also major family crap going on as well. So it's not just me I'm dealing with other issues as well. And it was very depressing and a very lonely place to be because, I was single. And when you don't feel good and you're just suffering every day, it's hard to get up and go, have that motivation to do something. And I think, I don't know what it was. It's so strange. I just was like, I kept hearing in my head, Kirsten Kelly, Kirsten Kelly, Kirsten Kelly. I had that name popped in my head in the year 2000. This book was 23 years in the making. So, and it was so weird. I was working as an investigator and I heard Kirsten Kelly and I'm like, where's that from? Like, Kirsten Kelly, like, I love the name because it rolls right off your tongue, right? Kirsten Kelly. And then I think I was just so focused on just where I was in my body and my, I couldn't do this and I couldn't do what I really loved doing. And then all of a sudden, I kept hearing it again. I'm like, and then what happened was I had written back in like 2004, 5, something like that. I had actually written also, I wrote two things. I wrote the original book, the original story. And then I also did they call it a Bible. I don't know if you know what that is. When you want to create like a TV show, a TV series, you have to provide a Bible, and it's like a 1.5, 2-page synopsis of what it is. And then you have to do all your characters and you have to do all the background. And I found that notebook out of the blue. I'm getting chills because it was so weird. Out of the blue, and I'm like, oh my God, yeah, maybe I should pick this up again. And it was just universe, angels, God, my guides. I don't know. Somebody was like, the time is now for you to like do this. And it just came out of me. I don't know how else to explain it. It was really a miracle, seriously, because I was just in such a low place. I didn't know what to do. And then with everything going on in the world, I was just like, I know where I stand in the world, but I also wanted to help other people kind of see that there is somebody, and I say Kirsten Kelly, a character, even though she's a character, there is somebody out there that has challenges of her own, but yet she can be a light. And she's here basically to save humanity in this timeline. So, and I think that kind of all of it just kind of came together is the best way that I can explain. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it's really remarkable. It's really, really remarkable what you've been through and the process. It's, in hindsight, of course, hindsight can be 2020, but looking back, it's
Yeah.
almost like you were in school with your other, the
Yes.
investigating work to be able to fulfill this more of the next level of your life purpose, the next level of your own destiny. And it just like all that information that you had, it's the investment that you put into it, the blood, sweat, and tears, so to speak, and all of that, to be able to carry that forward into something else is really remarkable because you could have just decided, well, I'm done, or whatever,
Yeah.
but somehow you move forward in that. So tell us also a little bit about, the next couple of books that are coming up, just in terms of, when you said they're coming out next year and the prequel also is coming out. And what do you think about the timing on those?
Okay, well, this is what I know for sure. Book 2 will be out. I'm shooting for the end of March. I'm shooting for the end of March because everybody's been like, it was so funny too. I'll tell you this story real quick because it was just adorable. I couldn't even believe it. So yes, Labor Day weekend, I had a book booth at the Ocean Shores, right? Ocean Shores Convention Center. And I believe it was Saturday. This gentleman came by and he was like, "There you are." And I said, and I recognized him from last year because last year I was at Seabrook on Labor Day weekend at their Saturday market that they had. I had a booth there and he bought my book. He somehow tracks me down in this thing. And he's like, "Where's the other book?" And I said, I said, "It's coming out, I promise." And he was like, "Well, how do I know?" And I'm like, "Give me your email, whatever." But it was so amazing. This guy is from England and he and his wife come here to Seabrook, I guess, every year. Every year they have a house there or something. And he was so upset that the second, but so I told him a little bit about it, like what the book was. But so it was just mind-boggling to me that anybody would even care enough to find me. It's such a weird experience, and I was just so, anyway, it was just a wonderful moment, that I'll never forget that. It was just my first year doing this. I don't know what, I'm just kind of going with the flow, trying to figure it out, but number 2 is called Nowhere to Hide, and let's just say there's going to be interdimensional travel. There is going to be a new love interest for Kirsten Kelly. There is going to be more crime in the underground, I'll say, uncovered. And then Twist of Fate is going to be, that's going to be interesting. The Twist of Fate is going to be sort of a triangle almost, is all I'll say. Love triangle. But there's also going to be I don't know. I don't want to, yeah, I'm just going to say that for right now.
Right.
I don't want to give too much away. And the other book, so the plan is that what I would love to do, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. I'm writing books 2 and 3 right now together. So I'm trying to finish all of it together and then I'll figure out how I want to do. But what I was thinking of doing was relaunching the full series, all 3 books together. And then that will give people an idea. And then the other book, The Whispers at Sun Mountain Lodge, that one I would love, my goal would be to get it out probably by maybe next October, November, because it's of course around that time frame, which is how Mystery of the Gold Coin starts around that. So this is the first book, or the Whispers at Sun Mountain Lodge precedes the Mystery of the Gold Coin by a year. It's exactly a year prior And so I would love to have them all out at this, next year. We'll see how it goes. I mean, money wise and stuff, it's expensive to do all these, but I feel like I just want to do it. I don't know. I got to get it out of my head. In
Yeah.
other words,
Right.
I'm done. And and then I also know what the next story is going to be even after that. So I've got, and I just really want, I think young people, I think this is for younger audiences. I would say anybody from 9, 10 years old and up could read it. I want her to be sort of a beacon of light for the young people to look up to her, to understand that, we can all overcome whatever life has sort of thrown in our way, and we can change our perspectives and change our destinies. Really, you can. And that's what she is. She's a beacon of light for humanity. And I think that will resonate. Hopefully it would resonate with some young people. And I just really want everybody to just, love her. I don't know. I just see her as a beacon of light, and a character that you can be proud of. There's none of this dark crap that we see. I mean, when I saw Disney doing some stuff with Star Wars, I was just so upset, because to ruin that by putting dark arts and stuff into it, I was like, really? Anyway.
Thank you so much for all of that. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up? Anything at all?
No, I think the main thing is that you can do whatever you put your mind to. And it's just about changing your mindset a little bit. And the best thing to do is to find something that you love and jump in with 2 feet. Do not think about it too much, because if I too much, I probably wouldn't have even written the first book, because it is nerve-wracking when you think of the whole thing, right? But I think that people, I know it's hard, and I know, with especially, it's so funny because I talk to people all the time, and this one girl in particular was like, well, I'm afraid of what people will think. Do not be afraid of what people think. You're your own person. Okay, you're your unique soul. We all were born with gifts. We were all born to be light in this world, and it just takes just like a little bit of a shift. Do I hurt? Yeah, I mean, it's hard doing these. Like when I did the event Labor Day, oh my God, I was down for like a week and a half after that. Physically, it's very hard, but I think that when you go out and you do it, it kind of God helps you, and that light within you, and the passion that you have for whatever it is that you love doing, it'll get you through it. It'll help you. And I think that's the most important thing. You have to understand, you have to kind of realize who you are, even though you might have like some impediments or whatever it is. You can still do it. It's not too late. And I'm living proof of that, I think, at this point. So
thank you so
that's
much.
all I have to say. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you are living proof of that. And everybody, I'm going to have Chrissy's information in the description, and also stay tuned. Don't quit yet. Don't stop watching, because the last slide, there's going to be also information there about her website and contact information in general, and how to buy the book. So everybody buy the book, and then books, by the time you're listening to this, all 3 of them might be up. So thank you again, Chrissy. It was really great to chat today.
Sure. Thank you so much. It was fun.